I'm engaged. How do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago. Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of the wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress. From budgeting to booking vendors to day of drama, let's talk smart wedding planning. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? With the one and only Ann Ogden from Wente Vineyards as our guest.
Yay.
So Ann, yeah, oh yeah, I'd like that. Yay. So
Yay.
Ann, welcome to the podcast.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about Ann. How did we get to Ann today?
You know I've been dying to come on this. I've asked you how many times. How 5, many times? Yeah, I am Ann Ogden. I work at Wente Vineyards. I have done basically every position possible here at Wente Vineyards. Cart girl, event coordinator, worked in the restaurant for a little bit, and then have worked my way up now to a director of sales. So I've been with the Wente Vineyards for 25 years, and I'm proud of that. It's such a great family to work with. And just driving down Arroyo Road is amazing because it's a beautiful view. And if you've been to Wente Vineyards, just the whole venue is just amazing. So it's so beautiful here, and I'm just lucky to work here.
Well, and I would say when you drive in, you get to experience all the seasons as you drive through Wente Vineyards because you get to watch the grapes go through. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
especially every time right after Thanksgiving, like the vines are so amazing, the colors. You see everyone out there taking their photos for a Christmas photo. I still haven't done it, but I see everyone else doing it.
Yeah, well, it's Christmas Eve, so hopefully you get your Christmas photos done today since Christmas is tomorrow.
Yeah, probably not happening, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. I know we this was the first year that we stopped doing some traditions that we normally did because the kids are just too old for that anymore. So
yeah, I make my kids every year have gone to see Santa, and that is their one Christmas gift to me is to go see Santa. So I always ask them, have you seen Santa yet?
There you go. Perfect. All right. So we're here talking about why are Saturdays weddings overrated. So let's start off. Traditionally, Saturdays are considered like the prime wedding day. So why do you think that was the case?
Why was Saturday so popular before?
Yep.
Yeah, well, because I think a Saturday, that just makes sense. Everyone's off work. You can have people fly in. It was just accommodating probably to most of your guests. Popular day, but I just see that trend. It's kind of moving away from that. Prior to COVID, we probably had a handful of Thursday weddings. So I think it was kind of moving into the Thursday weddings, a little bit of Mondays, but now we have a few Wednesdays as well. So I actually have a Wednesday couple coming in May. They have never been to Wente Vineyards. They are flying in from Tennessee, and they've never seen the property. But yeah, they thought it would just be a great way to come out and then have everyone join them and then extend that Wednesday into the whole weekend instead of having your guests fly in on a Friday just to turn around, leave on Sunday. So make a longer week of it.
Yeah, make a little vacation out of it for more of a destination. So it's kind of funny because I feel like when we're becoming more and more like Vegas, like where we have weddings almost every day of the week now. And so, and that I think is a product, like you said, since COVID, like people are a little bit more, more people work from home, more people have more flexible schedules than they ever did before. So it's getting easier and easier for these couples to plan weddings on multiple days. So,
yeah.
Well, and I think with Midweek too, the Tri-Valley itself has kind of been a new vacation type destination, right? We kind of have our own small, vineyard area wineries, and we're really close to the city. So it is pretty easy to make a full itinerary for the week if you do have a lot of people coming from out of town.
It's true. Yeah. And also Fridays, I always people are struggling with the traffic here too, right? It's how many Friday weddings are you holding up because half the guests aren't here because it's a Friday. So it's kind of nice just to have a more mellow Wednesday. I feel like your staff's even more refreshed, right? It's I just worked the night before, doing another wedding up till 2 a.m. But so yeah, I think Wednesdays Thursdays are great. And actually a lot of like Indian weddings that we are doing here too, typically will have like some sort of celebration during the week. Which is nice. So we're really filling in those weekdays, not just with golf tournaments and corporate, but just weddings. So it's nice.
Very nice. What do you think what are some other advantages to midweek dates? Other than like, we can kind of extend it into the weekend. What other advantages do couples see?
Right. Well, probably availability, right? Because everyone's looking for that Saturday. So availability is one. Vendors are less expensive. Is that true, Kevin? I'm just thinking
No, it's funny because we get asked that, and it's more for the venues than it is for the vendors, because it costs us the same day,
right,
or the same price to do a wedding, whether it's on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever the day is, pick a day, it's the same price. So it's more, it's, and for you guys, it's real estate is the way I think of it. And so you guys charge more for the prime real estate. And then, if you want to have a Wednesday wedding, it's going to cost you less because, that real estate's a little bit easier to get. So,
right. The state fee, but
yeah. So that's where I think the biggest savings.
Don't you think photographers though, don't they have like different rates?
Everyone I talk to pretty much keeps it's the same rate on our side because it's the same amount of work.
Yeah. Right. Our food is still the same, but you're getting a discount on the state fee.
But I guess the availability too with vendors too, right? Like obviously like you can snag a really cool date. And if you do have a date, maybe that's sentimental to you, that might be easier to snag if it's a weekday. But I mean, even with other vendors, Saturdays book up really quick. So it's nice to have a little bit more freedom and options with a midweek date.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then like transportation too, like the venues, if you wanted like transportation, a lot of the hotels here, I wouldn't say a lot, but they provide shuttle service, being able to provide that is nice. That's a huge thing because down here at Wente, we're a little bit down the road. So being able to provide that shuttle service too is a great, and then the accommodations as well, right? So just that midweek is probably a little bit cheaper than the weekend too. So.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And just not to be freaky or not, but I just got a text message from Wente Vineyards that it's looking for a last minute gift. So it's kind of ironic that we're talking to you right now from Wente Vineyards.
Well, are you going to purchase some gifts? I know there's no Eric Chardonnay right now, but
I've already purchased my Christmas gifts. Thank you very much. So
I might need some, man. I might stop by.
and I purchased my Wente wine already. Thank you. So.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for supporting us.
Well, I'm a club member. I support.
Good. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Do you find that couples who choose alternative wedding days, like, a Wednesday, Thursday, have more flexibility with vendor selection and timelines? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard to get the, Fantasy Sound to be available. So, I mean, usually you could find them on a Wednesday, Tuesday. Definitely. Carrie.
Well, and I feel like they might have more options and be able to get what they're looking for, and have a little bit more flexibility. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also another thing too, that like, I feel, those midday week, those are like a little more casual, maybe a little more intimate, which I kind of like, it's not, I don't feel like you're going to get your 200, 300 person wedding midweek. I feel like it's going to be 50 or less or something like that. Like I said, it's just a little more intimate, a little more special maybe for them, a little, and maybe that date means something to them.
Well, now you say it too, it's maybe where a little bit, because, having a wedding, you don't get to, being a couple at your own wedding, you don't get to enjoy it as much as you do. So maybe like having a weekday, more intimate wedding, you're going to be able to enjoy the party a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that could be a benefit too if you're like, maybe you have a really big guest list, like 200 or 300 people, and you're trying to narrow it down a little bit. Maybe choosing a Wednesday or a Thursday is an easy way to kind of shave off some numbers there too.
Yeah, that's too funny, August. I was actually speaking with someone earlier and we were saying that, I'm like, that would be great. Because then if you wanted a 200 person wedding, but you don't want to invite everyone, have it on a Wednesday. If you can't make it.
I didn't even think about that. That's really smart too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what else I do find for those midweek are people are maybe like a little more food centric. They're not so much about the party, what I find. So, we have the buffet, we have a 3-course and we have a 4-course. And lots of times they want the 4-course. Like they want, it's like more of like a food production. And then maybe not a lot of dancing, but just more of mingling. So yeah, it's interesting to see that it's really like, we'll do the 4-course, smaller 4-course. Everyone gets to enjoy the food and then just maybe light dancing.
Yeah, and that's kind of related to my next question is, do you think couples do that a lot because maybe they're getting a lot of savings from not having their wedding on a Saturday and they're kind of using those savings to enhance the menu or enhance things further? Do you think there's any other creative ways that couples can enhance their day with the savings they're getting from having a midweek event?
Yeah, and I think they take advantage of that food, right? They make it more of like a sit down, more like intimate. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's the older couple that maybe wants the midweek and they don't want to be the center of attention as well.
Oh, that's a good point too for the couples. We had someone on here talking about courthouse weddings, which I would have never even thought about. But now that you tie it in, and someone can do like a small little intimate courthouse setting, and then have a little bit bigger of a dinner party on a Wednesday, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I would prefer that if I was getting married again. I'm not, but if I was, it's just simple.
Breaking news on the podcast is something we should know about.
Sorry, Kyle.
No, it's true though. When I used to coordinate and I did have a few older couples, I honestly, during the open dancing time, I kind of found them outside just like hanging out with their guests and kind of mingling a little bit more. So, I mean, every person's different, every couple's different, but I just don't think they're into as much as the dancing scene as younger couples are. And yeah, I mean, maybe extending the dinner service a little bit is a nice little treat for everyone.
Yeah. I feel like the older couples, it's more, you don't want the big dance party, right? Like for the younger couples, you're like, I don't know, should I do plated or buffet? And then it's like, if you want to like kind of go through, do the buffet, get out dancing, you just want to like go. It's like, my main thing is to get on the dance floor. It's like, well, then let's do that, where others want to extend that and don't want to be the center of attention. That's usually what I find in the midweek.
Yeah. When you think about it, is the weekday weddings can be just a little bit more chill, like you're saying, a little bit more relaxed. But so with that said, do people come into Wente to tour the venue and go, I want a Saturday wedding, and then think about going somewhere else? Or do they come in already with a date in mind? Or how does that work from the initial inquiry?
I feel like both. A lot of times they have a date, but they'll say flexible. Some will say they're not flexible. And usually when they come in, they just want to see the property. We tour the property, go through the whole 9 yards, show them everything. And then, usually I'll ask, do you have other venues, tours today? And usually they do. And it's usually, down Costa Riel, Castlewood. It's like, I know you guys are going to all those places, And so I kind of get a feel when they're looking at those places, like maybe like, I see what you're looking for. A lot of people come to Wente Vineyards because of it's a winery, obviously, but it's outdoors. We have a lot of outdoor space. I know a lot of people like the outdoor space. We don't have a lot of indoor space, 150 people, but and it's intimate. Like, the grass surrounds the trees, and it's just a nice, the buildings, like a little Spanish style. So it's different than just your cookie cutter, like wedding venue. I think it has a lot of different aspects to it. We take you up to the 8th hole overlooking the winery for the sunset photos. And then, your guests can come here and enjoy experiences, right? We have a golf course. We have the tasting room. We have the grill. They can have lunch. So it's nice to have those things. Even if they don't do it the day of the wedding, they could come back the next day or do it the day before. And another thing that I like to do also is we have our historic sandstone caves. And we could fit up to 40 people in there. And like, how many times can you say, our guests, we had a rehearsal dinner in the caves. It's like when I walk them through there, there's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Right. And I even say, if you don't get married here, you can still do your rehearsal dinner.
Yeah. And that's I love the caves. The caves are a great little place to. I've
Yeah.
done wedding ceremonies in there. We've done, like you said, intimate dinners. Small weddings, all kinds of fun stuff in those caves, and that's a great guest experience right there. Something that people don't
Yeah.
always get to experience is having dinner in a cave.
Mm-hmm. And how many times are you like, oh, do you want to see the caves? We do rehearse. What? You have caves? Like,
Yeah.
probably 90% have never even seen the caves. Know that we had one. So it's just, it's amazing to go show them and just see their face, how cool it is. And they're taking photos and I just love it.
Well, and the other thing too, when I think of Wente, I think of the history, the oldest, longest continuing running family winery. So that is something to be said right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do a lot of couples come just because of the name recognition too? Like it's kind of a wow factor when they announce that to their guests?
Definitely. Wente's been around, like you said, it's 141 years now. And so there's a lot of legacy there. And I have people whose family, like, oh, my mom and dad actually got married here, and they're with them and they're like, we got married right here. Or, we've been coming to the concerts here our whole life. So there's a lot of things that they're attached. Oh, we came to the restaurant, for our birthdays and every, holiday and stuff. So there's so much history here. And like the Livermore Valley, it's just amazing how those people, Wente Vineyards like connects them. And so it's nice to work here. And like when people do come and they get so excited about the venue, it's just like, oh, yes.
That's so sweet. It has like a nostalgic or sentimental value to a lot of people in the community.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So,
well,
yeah.
And as director of sales, it sure makes your job easier then when they come in like that.
It's it's very easy just because it is so beautiful, and they're always like, God, you work here? I'm like, I know, it's not the worst place. I drive 8 miles through vineyards.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. I've always loved my commute here. I've loved working here. And like I said, just being in this environment is just, you have a hard day. It's like, I'll just go walk outside for a little bit. It's beautiful.
We need that. I think we need to move
Kevin
our
reminds
office.
me. So last Thursday, we actually had a wedding in the caves. It was for 20 people. And then they did their ceremony a little bit outside, and then they went inside for dinner in the caves, which it was a Thursday wedding.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. But small, intimate. They just wanted something simple. They didn't want like the big fuss of it all. And it was perfect.
Yeah, but I feel like it's intimate, but yet like classy and fun, and it's a guest experience again. It goes back to that.
And less pressure.
Yeah. So now, Anne, do you think there's a specific time of the year when guests or couples are moving to that during the week, or is it more all year round that they're looking for alternative dates?
I feel like it's all year round, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. All year round. What I am finding too, though, with the heat now, people are moving away from, like, for me, I feel like it's not the August, September, weddings. Now I'm finding a lot of tours are November. Like, oh, we're looking for November. I'm like, November? It's interesting, So
I feel like out here, November is becoming a really popular wedding month too, because you think about it, especially if you can get a date around Thanksgiving, then family will come in and then they'll be able to have Thanksgiving with everyone. Yeah. I always found that to be a really good thing. So, and the other thing too is, we have had, last year we didn't have a lot of fires, but the fire, because people don't want smoke on their wedding day. So that's another thing to think about is
I always
August,
ask.
September's. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I say, why not? Like, why November? And they say, oh, the wildfires. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting because like, I would never think of that. And I actually had a wedding that was worried about the wildfires. It was a 500 person wedding. And,
oh my God,
there were wildfires. And, it's, if you want to cancel, you can cancel. But I'm like, you just planned this whole thing. And they went through with it, but it's like, yeah, the AQI was, who knows, but, are you really going to cancel with all this planning just because of the air quality? And it made for some really great sunset photos. I'll tell you that.
I bet it's super orange, huh? Well, and Anne, do you guys have, as far as pricing goes at Wente, do you have different seasons? Because I know at the venues I used to work at, November actually wasn't as popular because it was kind of the end of the peak season. So I thought kind of more people lean towards October or December, actually.
Yeah. Well, in the past, our Decembers, it's usually with holiday parties. We did have the one this year, but I don't know, Wente's just not too popular for weddings in December. I don't know. I don't know if you guys find it popular. Well, Kevin, do you guys do a lot of December? I'm not sure.
I feel like they're competing with
corporate
the holiday, so a lot of the corporate people are nabbing up the midweeks and even nabbing up the Saturdays. So when we do get weddings in December, it's on Sundays, because a lot of companies won't have holiday parties on Sundays, but then they also will have them as we get closer to Christmas, like the weekend before Christmas, sometimes we'll get some weddings in there. And then in between Christmas and New Year's, I find we do get a fair amount of weddings, because again, people are home from, it's easier to get families to come together because they can celebrate Christmas and the wedding at the same time. So, I mean, my wife and I picked New Year's Eve because I never wanted to work on New Year's Eve again. And that's why I picked New Year's Eve. So,
here you are working on New Year's Eve.
I know, but I've only worked a New Year's Eve wedding once since we got married because of COVID, and it was a reschedule. A couple that I had that was getting married during a different time of the year. They rescheduled their wedding to New Year's Eve because that was available. So
but August, yes, to your question, yes, there is different pricing, and it actually starts in November and goes to February, which maybe I need to relook at that.
Well, no, I think that's great then, because that's kind of your winter season, right? Like the venue I used to work at, it was December through March. So like when I worked there, it was a little bit harder to sell November, but I could see it's probably easier for you because that's when your winter season starts.
Yeah, but the funny thing is this time change, right? There's the time change. When you're booking it, they're like, oh, I want it at 6:00. It's like, okay, but your ceremony's gonna be in the dark if you want it outside, right? So that's something to consider. I'm always like, oh, wait, you're after that second week and whatever. I think it's that Sunday, right?
Yeah, November, yeah.
Yeah. So
but
there's
you do
that.
have
So
the
then,
Taraj building.
Hey, that's a backup. But yeah, that I always tell them, like, you probably want to be like maybe start 4 to 9 or something and stuff. You don't want to do the 6 to 10, right? Yeah. Some people like that. We've had a few people get married in the dark with lots of lights. It's pretty too.
Yeah, I guess I've never seen that, but I kind of love the winter time when couples do decide to do like a 4 to 9 event, because they're getting married right around sunset, which if they're okay with that, they kind of sacrifice the sunset photos, but they have such a beautiful background for their ceremony.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, lots of lights and stuff can be really beautiful. I prefer the trees with lots of leaves and greenery, but people love those winter weddings.
I was going to say, we did a wedding out at the Myriad as well one time, where they got married in the dark and we surrounded them with light bulbs all around them. And it was really...
Oh, I've seen those photos. Yeah, that was gorgeous.
Yeah. So,
one of our coworkers, were you at that one?
Maybe.
Yeah, that was a beautiful wedding. Yes, but that's what I'm talking about is Myriad as well. So that's our other venue that is 6 miles away from Wente Vineyards. Myriad as well is a beautiful spot. Yeah, but that's where I tend to be like, okay, it's gonna be dark, lots of lights. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah. So how do you think couples, I mean, because you deal with them when they're going on tours, how do they come to the decision on picking a date?
How, on the date?
Yeah, or just, the day and the date.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, like I said, it could be an anniversary. Sometimes it can just fit their schedule. What I'm finding a lot now, a lot of firefighters and nurses, doctors trying to juggle their schedules. Like that. I mean, even with touring, it's hard, So I feel like I have like 4 or 5 couples this year that are firefighters and nurses, and just juggling that is hard, I think, their jobs. And so maybe the midday works best for them, you can't even get them to tour together.
Yeah, that's hard.
I just did a meeting in our venue, and they had the groom on Zoom or not on Zoom, but on FaceTime the entire time.
Yeah.
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 Well,
poor
and
guy.
I wanted to ask too. I would get this a lot when I was touring venues, but with some cultures, they are very like auspicious about certain dates too. Like it could mean bad luck for the wedding if it was that day, or it has to align with both of the bride and the groom or the couple.
Right.
And a lot of times they would have to consult with their parents and make sure that this was an okay date before they moved on. So a lot of times they would hold a couple dates and be like, okay, I think these are okay, but we just have to double check. So I don't know if you get that a lot at Wente as well.
Yeah. We get that all the time. And then also the location of the ceremony. It's like, I think it's as far as like where the sun's setting or rising,
Right.
something in the east or west, something like that. But yeah, we get that a lot now. It's interesting. And I love learning about it all.
Yeah, I think with some Indian cultures, they have to be facing east, like the direction of the ceremony.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool to learn about.
Yeah. I've learned a lot.
And that's one of the cool things, because we are here in the Bay Area, and being a melting pot here in the Bay Area, we get to learn all the different, traditions and culture and all that kind of stuff. And it's I always get excited when we do something new. Like we did a Tibetan wedding this year, and we had to hang a bunch of banners and a bunch of different things because they all meant something. And it was very specific on how we had to hang it. But it's just fun. It's a different challenge. It's a different, and that's what I think is really cool about it.
Yeah. What I think is really cool is like, so we have that lawn space, right? And, typically in the past, it's like, oh, ceremony here, do your setup here. Now these like structures are being built, and like, I've seen that lawn be used in so many different ways now that I'm like, it's a blank slate. Do what you want. I mean, and the pictures and the photos of some of these things, I'm like, oh my God. And like, how did they think of that? Like, it's so amazing.
Well, and I feel like that, and then they get inspired by what they see to make it their own. And that's what I think is exciting for future, clients as well.
Right.
So,
yeah. Each event, it's like a snowflake,
yeah.
Everything's different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I know.
Perfect. Well, what advice would you give to couples who might be hesitant to move away from the Saturday traditional day?
I would tell them if it makes sense for them and it's something they can actually pull off and get the family to come to and make it their day, less pressure, I would say go for it. It's so much easier for everyone, I think. Just getting to the venue and traveling, transportation. Yeah, definitely do it.
I think you just kind of have to remind them and weigh like on the benefits, right? Like the advantages of a midweek. Because, there were times where I'd be touring couples and I would, kind of put the idea out there like, hey, how about a Thursday? Like we would always say like Thursdays are the new Fridays, like why not just think about it? And, you're getting a better price, you're locking in a date, you're, getting all of these advantages. And some couples were still very hesitant. Like, no, they're so set on a Saturday. It can't be any other day of the week, which I do get, like we said at the beginning, that is typically, most people have Saturdays off, but I think it's just reminding them of the advantages and all the benefits you can get from having a midweek date.
Yeah, I agree. Kevin, and Fantasy Sounds probably available?
No.
Probably.
No, I'm just teasing. We try to accommodate as many couples as we can over here at Fantasy Sound, ma'am.
I know you do.
So.
You guys are amazing.
All right. We're getting to tips. I always go first, but I'm gonna let the ladies go first this time.
Wow.
I have several tips.
So, Anne, you can go first. We do like one takeaway from our conversation. Like, what's one tip you can pull from this episode that you think is beneficial for couples to know?
Ooh, okay. There's lots of tips, but I would probably say the biggest tip is, I guess it's a little bit both, but the discounted like site fees during the week, and then also the less pressure. I mean, it's just and the vendor availability too.
You're taking all the tips. That's not fair.
Well, and I think, Anne, it's even better for those couples, and we've talked about this a lot over the last few episodes, but for short-term bookings. because that has just become so popular after COVID. So especially if you are needing a lot of vendor availability, if you are doing a short-term booking, then midweek is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
And my
I mean,
tip
that was
is
kind
going
of
to be
more Anne's tip. I can do another tip if you'd like an extra
let's
tip.
go, August. Roll another one out, girl.
Well, I mean, just kind of recapping from the beginning, but I mean, my biggest thing I would always tell couples about midweek dates is you can make a whole weekend out of it, right? So if it is a Thursday or a Wednesday, like Anne said in the beginning, people can fly in. They don't have to worry about a quick turnaround and getting back the next day. They can make a whole weekend out of it, create an itinerary, go to the city, explore Livermore Valley wine country. There's so much to do around here. So might as well show your guests a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as someone that grew up here almost my whole life, it's weird for me when people are coming here as a destination when they pick Livermore. So I think it's cool, but it's also kind of strange. But I think the biggest tip I walked away from is just couples need to have an open mind when they're going in to make their decision. Because if they go in with that open mind and see the options, like whether they're trying to get a date specific that they're trying to get, or they don't have to go with the Saturday because, maybe they want a little bit more casual, a little bit more fun, at a wedding and enjoy it. But I like it if they go in with an open mind when they do their tour. So
yeah,
that's my tip.
I love
That's
your
a good tip.
tips. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I always go first because I always have a hard time, but I felt like today, Anne, you gave me lots of knowledge. So I had lots of tips.
And knowledge is power.
Well,
and power is pizza.
It's true.
Power is pizza.
Do you guys watch Parks and Recreation?
I do.
That's a quote from there. So.
I do love me some Parks and Rec. All right, Anne. Before we go, how do we get in touch with you?
You can email me at ANN .Ogden, OGDEN at Wente Vineyards, WENTE Vineyards.com. Or you can call me at 925-456-2441.
I love
I'd
that.
be happy to tour you around and book any weekday wedding.
Well, and you'll be happy to book a Saturday too, but if it's available. So,
oh yeah,
let's be
booked.
straight. Yeah. So, anyway, all right. And then before we let you go, Anne, I want to know what your favorite, since you blurted out what one of my favorite Wente wines is. What is your favorite Wente wine?
That's so funny. It's the Morning Fog Chardonnay.
Is it really?
Yes. I know. All of our wines are great. And I know, our Viva Ranch is super popular. Everyone knows that, but I really like our Morning Fog Chardonnay.
It's funny. And I'm not
I like Eric's too. Eric's is moving up there.
And I'm not a big white wine person. I tend to drink more red than I do white.
Oh, really? Because all you ever want is Nikki's Rosé and Eric's Chardonnay.
Well, Nikki's Rosé is for my wife, and Eric's Chardonnay is for my father-in-law and I. It's our pool wine. It's become it's the best wine ever for a pool.
Yeah, it is.
So it is.
It's for any time wine.
It really, it's my favorite. And I was sad when you said there's none available right now. So
it sells out fast, but hopefully it's coming soon.
I'm going to say it's got to be coming soon. So
yeah, I know.
Tell them over there to blend it up. Let's get it going.
All right, I'll save you extra cases.
Please do. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. We made it.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's hard to believe this year's almost over.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it again next year.
You can be back for our first episode next year. You can be back.
Or our Christmas Eve episode again, but we want you back sooner than that. So
yes.
Yeah, we'll do something. We'll collaborate.
We'll see what holiday falls on a Tuesday, and then we'll pick you for that one.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, and thank you. You see, it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be, right?
It was great. It was wonderful.
She hesitated.
I wasn't sure which way to go, and I'll go this way.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll see you
Christmas.
Next week. Have a great Christmas tomorrow. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me if you have a topic you would like us to cover, or if you are struggling with your wedding planning. Please be sure to submit a question at podcast@fantasysound.com. I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It helps others find our podcast so they can learn from our guests too. And to everyone listening, happy wedding planning.